Rachel Zegler is extraordinarily woke, but she's woke in a way that's quite deranged.
She's an asshole. So she came out and took a large dump on half of the country.
About being a princess as a woman and meeting a handsome prince, but oh no, these big bad feminists now are telling us that's ridiculous.
Every way that Disney changed the story, it changed it for the worse.
I think this girl does not deserve a feature-length film.
You didn't hire a big-name actress in the lead, right? Nobody knows who the hell Rachel Zegler is.
Something wrong with her. She's disturbed, she's unhappy, and she thinks it's about feminism and the patriarchy and about abortion. But the reality is she's just not stable.
And Rachel Zegler, being 23 or whatever she is, like so many kids raised on TikTok, she's all for infantata is the only global solution. So the two stars hate each other.
And we're gonna tell the first movie what's wrong with it. Everything is wrong with it. It's such an insult, I think, even to the legacy of Walt Disney.
Now, I'm guessing that she's not married. I'm guessing that she doesn't have kids. The movie is a complete disaster, by the way.
What if one spoiled actress managed to ruin a Disney classic before the opening credits even hit the screen? Disney's live-action Snow White was meant to be a guaranteed blockbuster, huge budget, beloved fairy tale, and a surefire moneymaker. But instead, it's turned into a total disaster.
It bombed its opening weekend at the box office and is on pace to be the biggest Disney live-action flop that they've ever seen.
And Rachel Ziegler lit the fuse. This goes way beyond a simple box office flop. This is about a disrespectful, self-important star with a loud, woke agenda twisting a fairy tale into a total train wreck. From mocking the original to stirring up drama all over the internet.
The original cartoon came out in 1937, and very evidently so. There is a big focus on her love story with a guy who literally stalks her. Yeah. Weird. Super weird. So we didn't do that this time.
She made sure this remake crashed and burned hard. Let's break down exactly how everything went off the rails.
Everything will be great once we just act exactly like men. There's nothing special about being a woman. Let's just be men. It just doesn't feel like we're winning.
Disney thought they'd found their perfect princess until the backlash slammed in like a wrecking ball. Sure, she could sing. And yeah, she had that fresh-faced newcomer glow. But the moment the casting was announced, fans went wild. Snow White's supposed to be pale as snow, they shouted across social media.
Snow White gets her name not from the fairness of her skin, as we obviously know Rachel Zegler would be a miscast in that sense. Instead, she gets her name from surviving a snowstorm. Father and mother are king and queen to a utopian communist society. I'm not joking, guys. Everybody shares and is mindful of what each person is getting, and we spread our resources evenly, which is where this idea of fairness, as Snow White is the fairest of them all, is really presented in the film.
She had a Golden Globe under her belt, sure, but this was Disney. Viewers expect charm and humility, not arrogance. The warning signs were already in the air.
Oh, there's no prince. Woman doesn't need a prince.
Oh, Lord.
Really? Okay, good luck back then.
She didn't just accept the role. She practically spit on the original classic. By 2022, Ziegler was out doing press for the film, which was already a disaster, thanks to COVID delays and a set fire that burned through millions. Most stars would try to keep things polite, right? Not her. She went full-on woke warrior, blasting the 1937 Snow White, the very cartoon that made Disney a legend.
And we absolutely wrote a Snow White that is
not going to be saved by the prince.
She's not going to be saved by the prince, and she's not going to be dreaming about true love. She's dreaming about becoming the leader she knows she can be.
Fans were furious. Who was this actress to tear apart a piece of their childhood? Her whole attitude reeked of entitlement, like she thought she was above the very story she was hired to bring to life. And she didn't stop there. She kept bragging about how the new version scrapped the romance for some forced girl boss makeover.
They replaced the prince with a common criminal. So there is a prince-like figure, but he's no longer a prince, he's a criminal. And she's right, they clearly want to diminish the love story. I think after the backlash from those comments a year and a half ago, whenever they were, they did beef up the love story a little bit, but nevertheless, he plays an ancillary role.
Disney fans weren't asking for a lecture. They wanted the magic back. But her disrespectful jabs at a 90-year-old classic sparked outrage. And soon, Not My Snow White was trending like wildfire. PR teams were probably sweating bullets behind the scenes, watching the chaos explode online.
I was scared of the original cartoon. I think I watched it once and then I never picked it up again.
One loud voice flipped the whole story for the dwarfs. The Game of Thrones actor went off during a podcast rant. Why is Disney still doing this backward dwarf crap? He snapped. It's 2022. Almost instantly, Disney scrapped the 7 dwarfs and swapped them for CGI magical creatures. And of course, Ziegler Ziegler had to jump in. Loud, proud, and totally woke. We're moving past stereotypes, she posted, acting like she had just saved the world.
Like, I'm being so serious. I watched it once and then I went on the ride in Disney World, which was called Snow White's Scary Adventures. Doesn't sound like something a little kid would like. Was terrified of it.
But actors with dwarfism were furious. While she was out there preaching her message, they were losing real jobs. One actor vented online saying, "Peter's rich. We're not." The frustration was loud and it was real.
It's a bad thing. I'm not agreeing with it. One, because what they're doing is pretty much you're replacing jobs that people could have as little people. Okay. Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. It's for dwarfs.
Leaked photos of the CGI replacements hit the internet, and they were a joke. Lame, glowing blobs that looked like they came straight out of a bargain bin at a dollar store. Fans couldn't stop laughing, but for many actors, it felt like a slap in the face. And Ziegler? She didn't seem to care one bit. She was too busy striking poses as some kind of progressive savior. Her smug, I know best attitude only made the chaos worse. The production was already a total mess. Delays piling up, endless reshoots, and money bleeding out by the millions. And now, with all this drama, the fairy tale wasn't just cracked, it was completely rotten.
Snow White starring Rachel Zegler opened to a dismal $43 million, snagging the title of the lowest debut weekend for any Disney live-action remake, beating 2019's Dumbo at $46 million. They beat Dumbo. Shame on you, but it's for the worst ever.
Her reckless mouth turned into Disney's biggest nightmare. Fast forward to 2024, and Snow White was crawling toward its March 2025 release date. Ziegler had every chance to lay low and let the storm pass. But nope, she just had to keep stirring the pot. Right after the US election, she went full diva mode. Ziegler took to Instagram and unleashed on Trump supporters. "May you never know peace," she wrote. "Burnt coffee, wet socks, screw you all." It was pure, over-the-top brat energy, and it exploded online like gasoline on a bonfire.
May Trump supporters and Trump himself never know peace. What the F?
Megyn Kelly didn't hold back. She jumped right in and ripped into Ziegler live on air, calling her out in front of millions. "This rude little punk needs to go," Kelly fumed. "Disney, fire her now."
Hello, Disney. You're going to have to redo your film again because this woman is a pig and you fired Gina Carano for far less than this nonsense.
The clip exploded online. Millions watched as Kelly ripped Ziegler to shreds. Boycotts lit up on X, with fans vowing to skip the film over her woke meltdown. Ziegler tried to fix it with a teary-eyed apology. "I got emotional. Oops," but no one was buying it.
Her going, we need to change. No, you don't. It's not your job. Your job is to entertain. You are paid to entertain. That's what this is. Also, it's very disturbing.
Not for a second. One comment nailed it. Her bratty attitude was sinking the entire movie before it even hit theaters. Disney kept quiet, but behind the scenes, the buzz was loud. They wanted her out. Problem was, filming had already wrapped. Now they were stuck with a walking PR nightmare, and things were only going to get messier from here.
But I was basically the only person in the theater. Very few people wanted to see this. Even the little kids who like Disney movies, even they don't seem to be turning up in droves for the movie because the movie is really bad.
Disney rolled the dice big and got completely wrecked. March 21st, 2025 finally arrived, and Snow White bombed hard. The trailers were a total snooze fest. The CGI looked awful, and Ziegler, stiff smile, zero charm, no magic. It limped into theaters with just $43 million in US opening weekend, on a budget over $200 million. That's a disaster of epic proportions.
163,000 rating, of which it got 1.6, not out of 5. Like, sometimes you go to McDonald's, it's 1.6 out of 5. Yeah. 1.6 out of 10.
Vinny, you know what that is?
How bad is that?
Disney had been counting on at least $150 million, banking on families and old-school nostalgia. Instead, theaters were empty. No kids in costumes, no excited crowds, just rows of cold, lonely seats. Critics tore it to pieces. One called it a woke snooze fest, saying Ziegler's Snow White was a total flop. Another slammed the CGI dwarfs, saying they looked like rejects from a bargain bin mobile app. And even Gal Gadot couldn't rescue the mess. Fans who did show up walked out annoyed. Preachy, zero charm, and the magic gone. The merch bombed too. Dwarf toys sat untouched on clearance shelves collecting dust. Ziegler's rude behavior and non-stop woke rants had officially turned the audience all the way off.
Rachel Ziegler recently filmed herself giggling maniacally like a serial killer when she saw her own name in an empty screening of Snow White.
Disney thought stirring up drama would boost ticket sales, but instead it blew up in their faces and cost them millions. So what's next after this giant flop? Because guess what? The chaos isn't over yet.
Zegler has now decided to turn off replies on Instagram following major backlash over the Snow White movie because she is getting completely roasted.
Hollywood's in a frenzy, and Disney's drowning in regret. The fallout? Absolutely brutal. Rumors are swirling that top execs are in full panic mode. Layoffs might be on the horizon, and future remake plans? Scrapped. This disaster wrecked their momentum. One insider spilled the tea, and it's not pretty. They're scrambling to rethink everything. With marketing included, the losses could hit a staggering $150 million.
So you're not spending a lot of money on the actors. The special effects are trash. Where's the money going? How is it? What are you spending it on?
Ziegler's name? It's mud now. She's talented. A casting director admitted, but she's a rude mess. No one wants to go near her. Her constant woke rants and arrogant attitude turned her into a total liability. Disney's quietly shoving the film onto streaming, but the stink still hangs heavy online. She's become a punchline. Rachel Ziegler, the fairy tale wrecker. What started as a fairy tale turned into a full-blown disaster, and it's still not over. Disney handed the crown to a cocky newcomer who couldn't stand the original. She ran her mouth, came off rude and entitled, and tore into a beloved classic, sparking fights, ticking off fans, and turning dwarfs into CGI trash. There's even talk she clashed with Godot. The result? A box office bomb. $87 million on a $200+ million budget. Ziegler's career is hanging by a thread. Disney's out millions and looking completely clueless. Fans have had enough. Some were angry about her casting, others about her attitude, but everyone was furious about the disaster this became. Godot's staying quiet, cool as ever. Meanwhile, Ziegler's become the punchline of the year. Can she bounce back? Will Disney finally pull the plug on these remakes? Because this ain't a fairy tale. It's a loud, messy wake-up call. Drop your thoughts in the comments, and I'll catch you tomorrow for the next video.